So, hello and welcome to Beauty Espace TV. We're honored to have with us today Nitin Passi. He's the chairman and joint managing director at Lotus Herbals. Nitin is one of the leading industry people who one likes to not only talk to, but every time you talk to him, you learn a lot yourself. So Lotus, he's the joint managing director at Lotus Herbals Private Limited, India, and Lotus Herbals Middle East, FZE and UAE. He is currently involved in the strategic planning and business development at Lotus. He has been instrumental in increasing the revenues of Lotus by 25 folds within a span of 10 years and making it one of the most well-respected and leading Indian beauty brands. Before joining Lotus, Nitin was a senior consultant with Deloitte Consulting, USA, and he's also on the board of several companies, startups, as well as NGOs. He's involved in many meaningful social projects around the country, focused on women's health, education, and sports for the underprivileged. He holds an MBA in strategy and finance and an MS in information systems from CATS Graduate School of Business from the University of Pittsburgh, USA. And Nitin is very passionate about sports, and he has run very successfully several half marathons. So welcome to Beauty Espace TV, and thank you for joining us today, Nitin.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ritu.
So, Nitin, whenever we start interviews, we start from the very beginning, and we would just love to, start with understanding that it's been Lotus Herbals is 28 years plus years old, and we would love to understand what you think, ever since you've joined the company, what you think are the major, milestones for you.
See, we are, a very pure play beauty company. So, we typically have, multi-category, multi-channel, multi-brand play. So in terms of milestones, definitely, we were born 28 years back, and our parent company was already doing international business in beauty. So, there was a natural extension to do the Indian market. I think the one big milestone which we remember was the opening up of the economy in the late 1990s. That's when we thought that we will enter the Indian market also, and that's when the per capita consumption was going up, aspiration of people was going up. And then second thing that I remember very well, this about 20 years back when modern trade started, in the country. And initially it started with department stores and then came to hypermarkets and supermarkets, etc. So the shopping environment or the retail environment for consumers became quite conducive. And then, it gave us an opportunity to introduce more premium products to the consumers, right? And along the line, there have been a lot of, innovations, which if you can consider that as milestones, because every 2-3 years we introduce something very interesting and innovative, right? So about 22 years back, we introduced sun protection factor in the Indian market. So we were the first company to introduce sun protection factor. Then about 14 years back, we introduced India's first clean beauty brand under Lotus Professional. This was without preservatives, no artificial fragrance, no artificial, colors. And this brand, at that time there was nothing called clean beauty. So these were all botanical prescriptions. That's what we used to be called. And so this was truly a first of its kind clean beauty brand. It's become a very big brand for us. So then along the way, we had a lot of innovations in terms of encapsulated actives, then oil gel. So a lot of innovations on the product side. And also a lot of innovations we started doing on the marketing side. So whether it's in content placement of the products, on entertainment channels or in movies, etc., etc. And then about 13 years back, we introduced, India's first truly professional skincare brand, Lotus Professional, dedicated to salons and spas, right? That was I think, a watershed moment for us, because we always felt that India lacked a very truly professional skincare brand dedicated to the estheticians and the therapists, and which is just not an extension of retail. And these should be exclusive products which, are having high potency, and there is a certain technique which gives better results to the consumers inside a spa or a salon. So this was the thinking behind it, and so far we've done fantastically well in that division, right? And then about 9 years back, we introduced India's first vegan, makeup brand, Lotus Makeup. So that at that time, I still, I mean, in hindsight, we were very early in the industry. We were too much ahead of its time. I remember, like, for good amount of 2 or 3 years, it took us a lot of effort to educate the customer what is, natural and safe and vegan makeup. Right? Because there was nothing like this in the market. So we had to take a lot of education, etc., etc. So to educate the customers. So that was a great pivotal moment for us. It took us a long time, but eventually we've got the market in the vegan makeup also. So and then in the last few years, there have been a lot of things that we have been doing. So if you want to take the highlights, so as to say, so 3 years back we started, a lot of direct to consumer web stores, and of course 2 years back COVID hit, so that was came in handy, right?
Yes, so I'll
So,
come to that, Nitin, now. So, that was about Lotus Herbals and Lotus Herbals Professional. We have seen that, there's been a whole spate of investments that Lotus has done in brands, outside the company, like I think it's from September 2020 that, you have taken over Soul Tree, which is considered certified organic Ayurvedic wellness and beauty brand. And so this, I would like to, kind of you to peel off the layers and tell us why, the particular brand. And we can see that it's now got a retail store in a very premium location in Delhi. So what's the plan for this brand?
so this was a very interesting brand, and we took our time to understand. So we always thought that India has an opportunity to deliver to the world a very true, authentic, but still contemporary Ayurveda, and not necessarily in the premium or the luxury, but something which is of good quality for the Indian audience. And we were very clear the product has to stand out. It's not only the packaging or the brand. The product has to have, because if you have to compete internationally, you have to be the best amongst the best, right? So we were very clear on that. So it had a lot of positives, this brand, and we thought that it fits in very well with our philosophy of product first and then the marketing, etc. And so our thought process was very clear, our thesis was very clear. This will be our Ayurvedic brand, which we always wish to have. And it already had a lot of customers which sweared by the brand, which loved the brand, and we thought that we can extend the customer size by introducing the brand in a very different kind of a retail environment. And that's where we introduced Asia's first solar powered wellness store last year. And we now have 7 stores, and all these stores have a lot of environment and ecological positives. So all these stores are plastic free. The wood used is reclaimed wood. Wherever possible, the stores are solar powered. Like a few of our stores are completely solar powered, so we are not dependent on the electric grid, even in the summers. And we've taken that capital investment as well as the running investment to do that. And customers love these kind of things. So we were very clear that we will give a very different retail experience to the customers, and we want to position this brand from an international perspective. And of course from the Indian audience perspective, we've got amazing love and amazing response to a lot of things that we've been doing. So 7 stores now, 3 cities, and it's just a start. We are growing very well. And we will take a phase by approach for this brand, because this is a bit of luxury brand, so it takes time to build, instead of mid market or mass market brands.
Right.
So we'll take our time, but we are very, very happy with whatever we have achieved in the last 2 years.
Sure. So Soul Tree is basically an exclusively a premium product that you've launched. And do you at some point think that you could diversify into service, or because it's an Ayurvedic Ayurvedic brand? Yeah.
That's a very interesting question you asked, because we have been debating this for last 1 year. We
Mhm.
really think that there is definitely a service angle to an Ayurvedic brand, because internationally it's not very easy to market an Ayurvedic brand to mainstream audience, right? But if you have a service angle, if you have an education angle, it becomes somewhat easier. Nobody has done this. We have a lot of experience on the service side of beauty and
Mhm.
wellness with Lotus Professional, right? We definitely have been evaluating this, but so far there's no concrete plan, but this is definitely a very interesting idea.
Sure. Okay. So we'll look forward to the next steps for Soul Tree. So then we would like to understand that you have also invested big time in D2C, which I mean, amongst them are your Fixed Derma, Conscious Chemist. So how have you chosen them, and are you also getting into the dermatologist-led beauty segment in any big
Yeah.
way?
So Fixterma is not a D2C brand. It's
Yeah.
it's a fantastic dermaceutical brand. It's a fantastic company run by two fantastic people. They are a couple,
Sure.
and they are amazing people. They understand that segment very well. And look, we can't do everything, right? But we have aspirations to support people, in certain segments that we are not present in. So that's the thought process. And just to give you a background why we do this, mostly M&A kind of things. So for last about 9 years, we've been limited partners with almost every consumer venture capital and private equity fund in this country, right?
Mhm.
And during our conversations about just pre-COVID, some of these fund managers started saying, "You guys are the experts in this space, and why don't you go direct? Why do you need us?" And we also had, then we had an internal finance meeting, and we said, why do we need to pay these fund managers? Because they anyways come back to us for their inputs, right? Whatever they are doing. So we might as well look at some opportunities directly where, we can benefit from what is happening in that space that we are not present in. And those companies can benefit from the infrastructure that we have built, be the expertise and the knowledge that we have for last 28 years, whether it's on the marketing side, product side, regulation side, et cetera, and also international markets. So this becomes a good combination, good synergies are there. So Fixterma is a fantastic company in the dermaceutical segment. They deal with what 4.5 to 5,000 dermatologists every month, right? And there are about 19,000 registered dermatologists in this country. Out of which 5,000 they have already reached, right? And they continue to grow fantastically well. We're very, very happy. Conscious Chemist is a pure play direct to consumer company in the clean beauty. Now this brand also, so any and every business that we invest in or support, they have something unique. They are not just your run of the mill direct to consumer businesses. So Conscious Chemist has something very unique. The name itself, is I mean, we love the name, we love the founders, the what they have been doing, to young professionals, running the business, and they have a very strong ESG angle to it. So the packaging that they use, a lot of the products come from marine plastic waste, you know,
Mhm.
and the cartons, the card that they use, etc., etc. So
Sure.
there was something very unique, right? And also the product formulation that they have. Most of the product formulations are extremely unique, and they take a lot of time and effort, and they try to understand the consumer insights and give something unique. So most of our investments are in very unique businesses, which will definitely scale up at some point of time, given the demographics of India and given the aspirations of our consumers.
Sure. And the latest one is Yogic Secrets Healthcare, which is Um,
Yeah. So
you-
yogic secret is also very interesting. These are functional medicines. These are not your typical nutraceuticals. Yogic secret doesn't do any, your vitamin C and your multivitamins, and they don't do any of that.
Mhm.
Again, fantastic founders, ex-pharmaceutical, experienced guys. They are completely research-based. So they have close to about 8 SKUs out in the market. All the SKUs are clinically, tested. And so the number one SKUs has 6 clinical studies, to give it credibility, right? So these are, when I say functional medicines, these are absolutely amazing, highly efficacious products which are on the preventive healthcare side, which we think is a tremendous opportunity, and all based on natural ingredients and Indian understanding of diseases, with a very strong Western and scientific process. So that's a huge advantage, and we think that that's a amazing opportunity. We've been tracking some of our international, multinational competitions.
Mhm.
Competitors in the last 10 years, they've made significant moves in this segment, right? We think, and Indian brand and Indian companies, given the plethora of knowledge we have for the last 5,000 years in this country, but it lacks a scientific rigor and a scientific validation, which this company brings to the table, and with the ingredients which are available in India and processed in a very scientific way, so that the bioavailability and the bioactive matter of these ingredients is extremely high, and that's very beneficial for the human health. So we thought that that was very interesting, and there's a common thread of naturalness, which we like, in most of these businesses, and the ethos are very close to what we follow. So this became a natural, kind of a idea for us to invest in.
Does COVID have anything to do with this decision? Given that,
You
wellness
can
is so
say,
big now.
yeah, you can say partly because with COVID, there were two mega trends. One was definitely health and wellness. Health and wellness is now in the top three priorities of consumers, right? Apart from the YOLO segment, which conspicuous consumption, which is travel, luxury, that, all those things. So the first mega trend was health and wellness. So you can say, yeah, partly it has to do with this mega trend of focus on health and wellness. And we are seeing internationally, when we speak to some of our distributors in UAE, etc., which are also into the segment, they've, even after COVID, they are seeing tremendous growth in some of these categories, because this has become part of consumers' lifestyle now, to take care of your health, to take some functional medicines, to prevent certain kind of diseases or certain kind of, ailments to come in the future, and consumers are getting a lot of benefits, from some of these products. So yeah, COVID is part of the reason, but it's the mega trend of focus on health and wellness.
That it is, yeah, absolutely. So, we will just talk a little bit about retail, because the retail is really changing so fast. The omni-channel, and so what's your experience as far as you have makeup, you have brands in makeup, you have brands in skincare, now nutraceuticals. So, how are you approaching retail and of these different brands? I'm sure there are different approaches, but which one you think works the best?
Yeah, so I'm of the firm belief that India is an omni-channel market, and I've been saying that for the last 10 years, right? In various platforms, various forums, I've been saying that, right? Internationally, also, we have seen any major market, right? Omni-channel is the way to go. So I was in the US a few months back, speaking with a lot of our, colleagues in our industry, etc., etc. So we all know what has happened in the direct-to-consumer space over there. This complete bloodbath. Stocks have crashed in the private space. Companies are struggling, etc., etc. Right? When they are all being forced to go wholesale, or they are being to go to in US, typically wholesale is called, they term it wholesale, but it's actually retail, because they appoint brokers or they appoint agents to get into retail chains, etc., etc., because the companies typically depend on some of these specialists, to get into these retail chains. So, and I firmly believe that India is not a direct to consumer market at all because the economics are not in favor. In fact, this morning only I was speaking with somebody who's an expert in the e-commerce space internationally. And he
Mhm.
said that if you don't have a consumer basket size or AOV, average order value of $100, direct to consumer doesn't make sense in most of the markets, right? Because $8 to $9 is your shipment and your fulfillment cost, then your return logistics, then your customer care, then your cost of marketing and acquiring customers, blah blah blah, all that. You will never make money if it's less than $100 average order. And in the Indian context, if I take purchasing power parity of 1:8, that means you need to have a average consumer basket size of close to about $15, which most of the direct to consumer guys, including us, including some of companies, don't have, right? The average order value in this country is about 650 to 750 maximum. And I'm talking about brands which have some scale, who are doing at least 1,000 to 2,000 orders daily basis, not like, doing very boutique-ish businesses, right? So India is definitely a very large physical retail market, right? There's opportunity still in physical retail, but it comes at a extremely high cost compared to direct to consumer because you need to have feet on the ground, you need to build your brand, you need to have demand generation that involves a lot of marketing expenditure to build the brand and build that demand pool, so as to say. Otherwise, the product is going to come back, right? Which is happening in the space. So, with some of our investments in these companies, they definitely have access to our channel. They have access to our expertise in various both online and offline, right? And which some of them have been tapping very successfully and trying to scale up their business, right? And which was the idea, right? So we provide them certain inputs, we provide them a platform, and this platform can be leveraged for various complementary businesses, so that's definitely coming into play. And as we go along, in the next 1 or 2 years, you will see some of these brands in the physical retail, having good dominant visibility and good sales also, given our networks and our expertise.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you have actually expanded also with the Lotus Herbals EBOs, about 35 of them you have, and also in exclusive locations like Khan Market in Delhi. So are you growing their numbers as well?
Yeah, so the exclusive brand outlet business, is very important for us to get direct consumer feedback, more than anything else. And secondly, also, so we have a large portfolio of products, right? Not every retailer, so we used to get a lot of customer emails, calls, where is this product? I've used this product, I love this product, but it's not available in this retail outlet, which is near my house. It's not available in this mall, it's not available here. So we said, okay, let's have, all our product portfolio of makeup and skincare under the Lotus umbrella, in our exclusive brand outlets, and Khan Market and some of these locations, has a different kind of a customer, the premium customer for our organics, and our premium products, where, many of these customers, they love our product because they have seen it somewhere, they have shopped it, or they've heard it from their friends or their family, right? And they wanted to use it, etc., etc. So we are making that access available to some of these premium audiences in Mumbai and Delhi, etc., etc. So we continue to expand that segment, and hopefully we should be at 50 plus within the next 12 months.
So we have also spoken in the past, Nitin, about how the per capita consumption of makeup in India used to be so low, and now we are seeing an explosion of color cosmetic brands on the market. So how are you experiencing the market with your color cosmetics?
So that's definitely a low-hanging fruit, for us. This is a category that we've always been interested in. We have done a lot of work in this category. Of course, as I said earlier, that we were far ahead of its time, by introducing vegan makeup 9 years back. Natural and safe makeup, and a lot of our formulas were 99, 98% natural, but still with high payoffs and high color, pigmentation, etc., etc. We're still using natural minerals or natural extracts. So, we think that this market is still having a lot of juice. The penetration has increased, but still extremely low compared to, say, skincare, or even compared to the international, brands or international countries. So I won't take the developed world. I'll take example of Thailand.
Right.
So Thailand, face makeup, for example, is close to about 30% penetration. 30% of audience uses face makeup everyday basis, right? In India, it's still in single digits, right? So there's, if you look at if you speak with, companies who are operating in, say, Thailand, Vietnam, developing world, I'm not talking developed world, or either the Western world or the, Far East, So we still have, huge amount of growth, which is yet to come, in this category.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there were some misconceptions, and I think we've spoken about this earlier. So there were a lot of social stigma with using makeup, a few years back. I think we've crossed that bridge. Especially the youngsters don't have any social stigma using makeup on a daily basis, etc., etc. Right. So I think those things we are past, and I am pretty hopeful that this category will be seeing a good growth in the next few years.
Sure. Going on to anything advertising and marketing bit, we've seen, such, big ticket advertising with Lotus on the cricket field. And, you started with the runway, the fashion shows and the fashion weeks, we have, and then went on to the cricket field. We went on to, you're on TV with the Big Boss or...
Correct.
Yeah. So I think, does that really bring around some kind of relatability, given that, especially when it's cricket, and it's more, I mean, the Indian men's cricket is always, got that viewership compared to the ladies. So how does it work for you? How do you make it happen in terms of
Yeah. So before I
results?
address your question, I would say that, the ladies cricket is doing fantastically well.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think we will see a huge jump in viewership for the women's cricket, whether it's a national team or whether it's the women's IPL, which is going to start, next year.
Right.
So I'm very positive on that space. And, a lot of our, athletes, women athletes are doing fantastically well. Our hockey team did very, very well. Just last week, they won the FIH Cup. So a lot of our female athletes are doing very well in the international as well as in the domestic arena. So addressing your question, yeah. So it's typical, any consumer brand will try to anchor itself with audiences, with properties where the audiences are relevant, right? So cricket gives us a tremendous reach because it's almost a religion in our country, right?
Yes.
High, and this is the number one property on television. Extremely expensive, extremely expensive. But this has a 40% female viewership. And we are specifically talking about IPL, right? Even in the stadiums, there is now a 35 to 40% attendance in the stadiums, female attendance, right? So this is a good captive audience. It's almost like a family, viewership. So the entire family watches cricket. The entire family goes to watch the game, etc., etc. So most of our products are gender neutral. Whether it's the face washes, the sunscreens, some of the moisturizers that we have, the scrubs that we have, etc., etc. So it gives us a good exposure and good reach to reach out to newer audiences, and on a pan India level, right? And the typical television properties that we spoke about, right? We keep on doing that because they reach to a specific niche audience, or an audience, where some of our brands appeal to. And offline, definitely we associate with some fashion events for our makeup brand, where we tie up with some of the professional makeup artists to study what are the trends, and then also collaborate with some fashion designers to see what are the new, colors and the new styles that will be coming, which will have an influence on, the makeup, trends, and what kind of makeup the consumers will be aspiring to wear. So, I mean, we keep on doing these things, and we have seen that the brand gets a lot of recognition, and there's a lot of love in the community also. When it comes to, say, fashion events, the makeup artists, they love natural and vegan brands, because they know how heavy the makeup has to be for some of these shows, right? And so they need products which are absolutely fantastic formulas, non-chondrogenic, absolutely face, products need to be safe to use, but still need to have that performance and can, have the longevity throughout, using, some of our products. So we continue to do that, and hopefully we should be able to do more.
Fantastic. And you also have now the Bollywood faces, being attached to the Lotus brands. And that's also an interesting development. Is there a thought behind it in terms of positioning and?
See, if cricket is a religion, movies and Bollywood is extremely big also, so this is something which is part of our culture now, almost it's not no longer just entertainment. So, it's and has been there for decades, ever since India got independence, etc., etc. And it's a mainstream, Bollywood is almost mainstream in India and internationally, right? So some of these people or professional actresses who are, who stand for certain things, I can name some of them, like Dia Mirza, for example. She stands for a lot of things concerned with the environment, animal safety and animal habitats, etc. So that's very close to what Lotus Organics also stands for, as an organic wellness brand, right? So it comes very close to us, right? So we associate with them, and the relevant TV actresses, so that the brands get the visibility that they want. And see, some of them have definitely a clutter breaking face, or a clutter breaking persona, so we try to use some of these people which have good core values which matches the brand, and do interesting communication to our consumers.
Awesome. So now let's talk about where you're getting at. Where are you reaching? You've got about 15,000 plus salons also covered with Lotus Pro. And so how do you see yourself in the next maybe couple of years, given that the economy is still quite fragile and we are looking at another round of corona, perhaps somewhere in China and Japan still, but everybody's wary of that. And so how do you visualize the economy shaping up, and then your brand, featuring in that?
Yeah, so fingers crossed. So far so good. In terms of the corona, I think there have been some reassurances by health experts and doctors on mainstream television, etc., etc., that things will be fine, right? And government is taking fantastic proactive steps, for in the public health domain. So hopefully everything should be fine. But we are not doing any kind of contingency planning, etc. But we are very positive that, given the steps the government has taken and also what the health experts have spoken, we should be okay. But definitely there is inflation, which is eating into the consumer's wallet, especially in the mid-market, the mass market segment, right? But we are not that, so we are not extremely price elastic category, beauty, so you must be knowing about the lipstick index and all those things, right? So we are typically not hurt that much by inflation. Maybe a bigger ticket item will be hurt more or faster, right? So we are very positive, and especially when it comes to India, I'm extremely bullish, at least for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, we are still, at the brink, or we are still at the threshold of massive consumerism in this country. The addressable market in this country is going to grow from 50 million to at least 250 million or 300 million for beauty products, next 10 to 15 years, right? And brands which resonate well with consumers, will benefit the most, and which have strong brands, which have strong product delivery systems, and which have absolutely fantastic performance, and which have been built over the last few decades, because they will get the benefit the first, and where there is a lot of trust of consumers. So if you see typically how consumers upgrade or latch on to the next aspirational product, they typically will pick up a brand that they trust, and not necessarily a brand which has been advertised, in just in the next maybe 1 or 2 years, right? So trust is a very important factor for beauty products and beauty brands. And internationally also, we've seen that, especially in skincare, brands which have a lot of trust and a lot of history, they get benefited by consumerism anywhere. So typically, any country which opens up their economy, they internationally, if you can take the top 10 trusted brands internationally by brand index, right? They will be the first ones to get benefited, whether it's a Nike, Apple, Coca-Cola, all these brands get benefited the most, any country which opens up. And similarly in beauty, when consumers upgrade, and they get into, for example, from a basic care product like a cold cream or a petroleum jelly to a moisturizer or to a sunscreen or to a face wash from a soap, right? They typically will adapt a product where they feel that they have trust in, or yeah. So I'm very bullish on India. We are not doing any contingency planning so far. Fingers crossed, right? Hopefully everything should be fine for our country, and we have done so far very well this year in 2022 compared to international markets.
Yeah.
And I'm very positive on India.
Awesome. So before we end, just a little bit about the exports market, Nitin. We've not spoken at all about it. So with Lotus, are you expanding into more markets? And you're already strong in a lot of them, but about 16 countries you are plowing already. So what's the plan with Lotus and maybe the other brands that you've added?
Sure. So, now our portfolio has 6 brands, right? All these 6 brands are 100% owned by us,
Yeah.
right? So different brands have different priority markets, right? Luxury brands like Sultry have the Western markets or the Far East market as a high priority market, right? Uh, Lotus Herbals, Lotus Organics has Middle East, some of these South Asian markets as a high priority market, right? So most of these markets continue to grow. We are seeing small slippages in Europe, right, because of the economic situation over there, and especially this winter. Everybody kind of so far is doing absolutely fine. By the way, right, it's doing absolutely fine. There is no disruption at all in business or consumerism, but it's just that there was so much of media noise around possible energy and all these electric disruptions in Europe that consumers have held back in the last 1 or 2 months, for purchasing, right? But I think this Christmas was fantastic last weekend. I've not heard of any disruption anywhere, in any of the European markets that Solti supplies to, so we are hearing back from our customers, some of them are on holidays, but still emailing us that, everything's absolutely fine, right? So fingers crossed that that part of the world should also be okay, but definitely inflation is very high in some of these countries, right? We have some small business in UK, where cost of living is a big crisis, and every day is the top line news everywhere, so food inflation is extremely high, so consumers cutting back, right? But apart from some of these, 1 or 2 isolated specific, country specific problems, more or less the export markets are doing well. Middle East is doing fantastically well. The World Cup did wonders. There was a lot of consumer flow, money flow into the Middle East markets, and I mean these markets are doing fantastically well. North Africa is doing completely fantastically well. No geopolitical problem. Asian markets continue to perform. Every country is completely open. Indonesia, Thailand, they are seeing massive inflow of tourists and money flow, etc., etc. And the Russian market is an opportunity for many Indian brands. So 3 of our brands are doing business with Russia because a lot of that space has been vacated by the multinational beauty products. So some of our brands were already there, but now the retail footprint has become much more bigger, and the opportunity is much more bigger. And I'm pretty sure that some of the Indian consumer product companies will be able to do a good job in Russia. So export markets continue to grow, and we continue to expand beyond the 16 countries basket that we currently have. So hopefully, we'll keep on adding 3, 4 more big countries as we go forward. and definitely North America is of keen interest to us, for some of our brands. And we continue to speak with retail chains over there. We continue to speak with, so like this morning itself, I told you I had a discussion with one of the leading e-commerce guys based out of North America, basically, right?
Sure.
So we continue to explore some of these markets.
Sure, great. Before we end, I'm very curious why we don't have a, like the K beauty, why still we have not established an I beauty, kind of resonance in the international markets.
So, it's a very, very interesting question that you've asked. So a lot of things are in consumer world has also to do with your economic clout, economic and cultural clout. Let's do it that way, right? So with South Korea, you said about K beauty, right? They've reached a certain kind of an economic, stature in the global arena, and some of their products have been, some of their industries have been global players, whether it's in automobiles, whether it's in electronics, etc., etc. And their beauty market is extremely sophisticated, right? So this is some sort of statistics you probably, most of your audience already knows, and you also know probably, an average South Korean lady uses 9 beauty products on a daily basis only for skincare. Okay, she uses 4 in the morning, uses 5 products at night, right? Extremely evolved consumer, extremely sophisticated market, right? And of course, they have some concepts like glass skin, all those things, right? So we already have a lot of beauty heritage, right? So I'm pretty sure once we reach that economic superpower status, as a country, and once we have that cultural, exports, already through Bollywood, it's happening, right? Once we have, and you can see that, people do recognize us as culturally very, very, rich country, and economically also we are growing, but still not there. Hopefully we should get there in the next few years. Then you'll see, okay, what do Indian women, what is their interpretation of beauty, and what kind of skin care and what kind of skin that we look forward to, and what kind of makeup we look for. And then there will be definitely some version of an eye beauty. What exactly it will be and when it will happen, I don't know, but hopefully it should be there within our lifetime.
Okay, that's ending on a very optimistic note, Nitin. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we really wish you all the best for onward journey with the Lotus Herbals group. I would like to call it a group now. So thank you again.
Sure, thank you very much. Always a pleasure chatting with you and talking with you. And lovely, and wish you and your audiences a very, very happy 2023.
Thank you, and wish you the same. Thank you.
Thank you.